40 years ago, Typical and the PRMC learned a hard lesson. Never underestimate John Denver. Hey, welcome to Acting is Reacting with me, JSB. Something a bit different again today. I recently saw a video about the current new moral panic, as it was called, in which comparisons were drawn to the infamous PRMC. If you don't know who or what that was, it's a committee formed in 1985 by Typical and three other of the Washington Wives, as they were known. You can probably guess why. So parental advisory stickers are their only real legacy, but they aim to do more and convince the Senate to hold a hearing on so-called porn rock. Now then and now, this was mostly considered an attack on heavy metal, as they understood it, but they also had other targets in their sights, like those noted purveyors of filth like Sheena Easton and Cyndi Lauper. Yeah. Now, I was 5 at the time, so I've only had a vague knowledge of these events, and certainly didn't know that John had been called as a witness to this hearing, presumably because the PRMC thought he was a nice, clean-cut American that would be on their side and promote their cause. Well, that's not what happened, and John has become a legend of metal for his testimony that day. I don't actually know what he said, so today I'm going to watch it because it's online, as everything is these days, and find out. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the hearing the late great John Denver.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Good
Please
morning, Mr.
proceed.
Chairman. It's a great pleasure to be with you, and I apologize for running in and out. I seem to be...
Stopping so early, I didn't expect to, but let's just rewind briefly. You see this,
Good morning, Mr.
proceed.
Chairman. It's a great pleasure to be
Chairman?
with
Look at that smile. Look at him. He knows that he's got this great man to deliver the message that he wants delivered. Well, let's see how that
you,
goes.
and I apologize for running in and out. I seem to be testifying and briefing many people here in Capitol Hill today. It's a great honor and a privilege to appear before you this morning and to take advantage of the opportunity given me in our free society to speak my mind, to give voice to my opinions in a public forum in front of not only the leadership of our great country, but the press and the media, and through them all who might be listening around our country and around the world. I'm here to address the issue of a possible rating system in the recording industry, labeling records where excesses of explicit sex or graphic violence have occurred, and furthermore references to drugs and alcohol or the occult are included in the lyrics. These hearings have been called to determine whether or not the government should intervene to enforce this practice. Mr. Chairman, this would approach censorship. May I be very clear that I'm strongly opposed to censorship of any kind.
Yeah, I think my earlier assessment was right. Did you see that guy's face? John says censorship, and he's, oh, this is not going the way we wanted. Yeah, sorry for the interruption, John. Carry on.
I've had in my experience 2 encounters with a sort of censorship. My song Rocky Mountain High was banned from many radio stations as a drug-related song. This was obviously done by people who'd never seen or been to the Rocky Mountains, and also...
We've got the subtitles on just for clarity. Obviously, there's a few errors in subtitles, as there always are, but I just thought I'd mention that. And yeah, I hadn't even considered that. You don't think of John as being someone who was censored, but yeah, of course, Rocky Mountain High was. It was taken to be all about getting high in the mountains. But let's see what he has to say about that. This is the whole point of this video.
Had never experienced the elation, the celebration of life, or the joy in living that one feels when he observes something as wondrous as the Perseid meteor shower. On a moonless and cloudless night, when there are so many stars that you have a shadow from the starlight. And you're out camping with your friends, your best friends, and introducing them to one of nature's most spectacular light shows for the very first time. Obviously a clear case of misinterpretation. And Mr. Chairman, what assurance have I that any national panel to review my music would make any better judgment?
And yeah, he's spot on. He's framing it from the point of view of his music, but equally he knows if someone can misinterpret a song like Rocky Mountain High so badly, then how can anyone be trusted to impose their views on what music should be censored and what shouldn't be. Now, he said that he'd been censored twice. I can't think of what the other one might have been. Wasn't Thank God I'm a Country Boy. Anyway, we'll find out.
To my knowledge, my movie, Oh God, was not banned in any theaters. However, some
Ah.
newspapers refused to print our advertisements, and some theaters refused to put the name of the film in the marquee. I don't believe that we were
Really?
using the name of our Lord in vain. Quite the opposite, we were making a small effort to spread his message that we are here for each other and not against each other.
I've never seen Oh God. In fact, I never even thought of this film in 30 years. It used to be on telly quite often, but I never got around to watching it for some reason. John and George Burns, if I remember rightly. I don't know if it's considered a turkey like most films are that feature notable rock singers, if we can call John that.
Discipline and self-restraint, when practiced by an individual, a family, or a company, is an effective way to deal with this issue. The same thing when forced on a people by their government, or worse, by a self-appointed watchdog of public morals, is suppression and will not be tolerated in a democratic society. Mr. Chairman, the suppression of a people or of a society begins, in my mind, with the censorship of the written or spoken word. It was so in Nazi Germany. It is so in many places today where those in power are afraid of the consequences of an informed and educated people. In a mature and incredibly diverse society such as ours, the access to all perspectives of an issue becomes more and more important. Those things which in our experience are undesirable generally prove to be unfurthering and sooner or later become boring. That process cannot and should not be stifled. On the other hand, that which is denied becomes that which is most interesting.
I can see. I mean, we're about a little under halfway through, and I can see why this is such a legendary testimony in certain quarters. He's evoking the Nazis and book burning, and it really is so relevant to what's been going on, especially in America in recent months. And he's just making the point here that if you try and hide things away, especially from kids, these are the things that they're going to seek out. I mean, how many times have we seen a song that probably wasn't doing very well getting banned and then becoming a big hit after the ban was in place? There's not countless examples, but there's a fair number of examples of that in the past. I don't know if anything's happened recently like that because I'm out of touch, but all good points, all well made. But let's see what else John's got to say.
I would like to
Makes
acknowledge
sense.
the PMRC for bringing this issue to the attention of not only our industry, but our government and our people.
It's very gracious of him. And I'm sure there were some smiles from the committee, at least at that comment. But by now it's clear whose side he's on, isn't it?
It is obvious that we are dealing with a real problem which warrants our concern. I would like to point out, however, that we address ourselves not to the problem, but to the symptoms. I suggest that explicit lyrics and graphic videos are not so far removed from what is seen on television every day and night, whether it be in the soap operas or on the news. That we should point our finger at the recording industry while watching the general public at a nationally televised baseball game chant in unison, "The Blue Jays suck," is ludicrous. The problem, Mr. Chairman, in my opinion, has to do with our willingness as parents to take responsibility for the upbringing of our children, to pay attention to their interest, to respond to their needs, and to recognize that we as parents and as individuals have a greater influence on our children and on each other than anything else could possibly have. To quote a wise old man from ancient China, if there be righteousness, not self-righteousness, that's not part of the quote. If there be righteousness in the heart, there will be beauty in the character. If there be beauty in the character, there will be harmony in the home. If there be harmony in the home, there will be order in the nation. And if there be order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. I thank you very much.
John,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, add a couple of personal words.
Just before he does that, I'm getting leaky, which is unexpected. I do apologise for looking like a big horse. Yeah, I mean, he's clearly thought long and hard about the message he wanted to put across at this hearing, and well, we know that John always had a way with words, but uh, I am, I guess, a little surprised. Not because of his clean-cut image, which he wasn't actually as clean-cut as people think. Anyway, let's see what his final personal words might entail.
I'm a father of 2 children, both adopted. I have a lot of friends in the music business, other rock performers who have children also. And all of them...
Other rock performers. See, John does consider himself rock. I don't know what I'd class him as. Great.
including myself, we have a great concern for our children. That's why I'm here today. In my experience, sir, all over the world, one of the most interesting things about the music that young people...
Do you see the hollow eyes there? Not from John, from the listening committee. Yeah, they know they've lost the argument.
People are listening to is it gives us as adults a very clear insight as to what is going on in their minds. We can know what they're thinking by listening to the music that they surround themselves with. The people that I've had the opportunity to talk with, the troubled children, the teenagers who are considering suicide, what they express to me is a real frustration in their lives, an inability to communicate with their parents, an inability to understand or to envision any kind of a possible future because of the nuclear threat that we live under. They don't see things getting better economically. They don't see things getting better for the small businessman, for the small farmer. They do not see a future for themselves.
Again, this is 1985, but I mean, he could be speaking today if he were with us, obviously. The more things change, the more they stay the same, I suppose. Distressing, isn't it?
It's my opinion that it is out of this that some young people put a gun into their mouths and pull the trigger. We can turn this around, sir. We can address the reality of a problem and not deal with just the symptoms and create not only a better world for our children, but for ourselves and all of humanity. We can end hunger. We can rid the world of nuclear weapons. We can learn to live together as human beings on a planet that travels through the universe, living the example of peace and harmony among all people.
Wow. All right, John Denver. Where are the John Denvers of this age? And when he was speaking about ending world hunger there, the Harry Chapins of this age. There must be somebody out there who's in a position that they were and are doing things that maybe I'm not aware of, but I don't have any spring to mind. Yeah. I mean, as long-term viewers of the channel will know, I've been a John Denver fan for a long time. About the time that this was happening, I was receiving his greatest hits for my 5th birthday. Uh, and yeah, I've been listening to his songs and words ever since, but I was never aware of his part in this hearing. So glad to have been made aware, and my respect for John is gone up, which I wasn't sure was possible. So yeah, I'm very glad to have seen that, and I hope, whether you're familiar with this speech or not, that you see John in a light, regardless of what you think of his music. You can love or hate him; that doesn't really matter when you're looking at someone speaking so eloquently as just a normal man, as a parent, as a citizen, and making a point to people which he called out for being self-righteous. He made a very clear differentiation between righteousness and self-righteousness. But yeah, it wasn't obviously just as clean-cut image that may have made him seem a likely choice for supporting the PRMC's aims. But we consider the timing of this. 1985, he was at a low ebb commercially. He'd been snubbed from participating in Decisions for We Are the World, which he later described as heartbreaking. And his most recent album at the time, which I've never heard actually, Dreamland Express, that had been released a few months before this hearing, and it reached no higher in the charts than number 90. So, a lesser man could have been bitter about that and spoken against metal and the other new and more controversial popular acts of the day, but he didn't. So his integrity speaks for itself, I think. And while we know, from his own autobiography no less, that he was far from a perfect human being, we could certainly do with his light these days, to put it mildly. Anyway, interesting. I hope you found it so. And if you are more interested in his music than his speaking, well, 10 years before this, John was at the peak of his popularity, so you can check out 4 selections from his classic live album, An Evening with John Denver, on one side of my head or the other. And I will simply say thanks for watching today and bye for now, but I hope not for long.
Acting is reacting. This does not mean acting again.